45. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. In the next three slokas of talking about yajna or sacrificing human life for the good of the world and our own good first, Lord is guiding us that how is this chakra or circle, or how the Lord has created this world, how we are mutually dependent on each other and how it is going in circles. Let's look at these three slokas, 14, 15 and 16. Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhava yajnat bhavati parjanyah yajnah karma samudbhavaha. Karma Brahma Udbhavam Viddhi Brahma Akshara Samudbhavam Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahma Nityam Yajne Pratishtitam. Now in these two slokas, Lord is saying that we are talking about yajna, means we perform actions, that is karma, and when we perform those actions selflessly, it becomes yajna. That is as simple as that. And what is selflessness is what we have already been explaining all the time. So, Lord says that from all-pervading Brahman, or that singular God, one Godhead, we call him Akshar Brahman, or we can call him Brahman or Purushottam, whatever name. God really doesn't have name and form. But then we human beings are so used to name and form, we need to bring into our conception God which is beyond conception. So we call him Akshar Brahma. From Akshar Brahman came Hiranyagarbha or Brahma, the creator. So now we are seeing the manifestation. From Brahma came karma or action, and from action came selfless action, and selfless action came from rain, and rain comes from, and rain creates food, and food supports our creatures, and the creatures are, we are all the creatures, and we have this energy within us that again creates people. So we are going in cycle here, how yajna is the center of the entire creation. Without karma, we cannot have selfless activities. First, perform activities. Then, so no laziness, no reason to feel that I have nothing to do, there is plenty to do all around us. Karma we must do. But donkeys are performing karma, animals are performing karma, machines are performing karma, even the sun and the moon are performing karma, actions. But those actions still remain animal actions. Human beings are the alone ones who have the opportunity to convert those actions into selfless actions. Just add word selfless action and that is yajna. That is the center of the whole universe. If we perform yajna, then everything will be in line, everything will be interfacing, and we will all be happy. Today we have these frictions in the world for one reason or the other, friction in the family, friction in the society. All these things can be eliminated if we learn little bit of humility and try to understand what God is telling us. So I would like to read out this again, this thing. These two slokas are telling us, slok number 14 and 15, it says, from food come forth beings. From food we have energy and the creatures are supported by food. From rain food is produced. And from yajna rain is produced. And yajna is born of action or karma. The action is born of Brahma or the Prakriti or Vedas we call. And Brahma is produced or has come from Akshar Brahman. So we go all the way to the Lord and back to our creatures, and what is in between this rain, the food, and all these things. That means we're talking about environment. Everything has a system, everything is matching and following one after the other. If we break the chain, then we will be in trouble. So here what Lord is trying to tell us is the importance of yajna. It is the importance that action is very necessary, and action all animals are doing, but action must be converted into selfless activities by human beings to be called human beings, and that is what makes us saint. So if we can just make a chart, or if you go through these two sloks after reading properly, you will find that this is like a chain we wear around our neck. The whole universe is chained. We are all connected, just like a chain. All the pearls are connected by a thread. Here, the thread is yajna. Thread is selfless activity that connects all of us into love and peace, and even connects us to God. Now, this is the cycle we are recommended to follow. Uh, God tells us exactly what He wants, what is His law, and we have a choice to follow. We also have a choice not to follow. But if you don't follow, you will have consequences for which you will have no choice, as we have said that. You always have a choice to select, but after you have selected, you have no choice on consequences. We must pay, we must suffer through the consequences. So I think that before we make choices, whether it is education, marriage, or buying a car, or buying a house, or making friends with certain type of people, think about the consequences. What will be the results? What might be the benefits, or what might be the losses in this particular activity, in buying a car or a house or marrying, even having children. All these things, if we just stop and think what are the consequences, what do I have to pay, what am I getting into it, what will be my obligation to perform my obligation properly, you will find that everywhere we are becoming slave. Every time you demanded something, you have become that much slave of that thing you demanded. Whether it is a house, whether it's a car, whether it's education, whether it is a temple, whether it is family, or whether it's children, anytime you want something, you have sacrificed your peace and your spirituality, in a sense. You have sacrificed your freedom. And moksha is the goal. We all want to be free. There is a way in which we can interrelate ourselves and stay free, whether we are married, whether we work for the world, whatever we do, there is a way in which we can stay free and enjoy each other's company if we know. And how do we know? That is what Gita is telling. There are laws, there is discipline, what we call yama and niyama. These are the moralities that every religion is stressing. Disciplined life, uh, sacrifice life. This is what we have been talking about. So, if we remember the foundation of our human life and the creation, then we will be able to enjoy everything we do. Just think of other people and not yourself. In everything we do, we have only our own angle. How much happiness I can get, even in marriage, how much happiness I will get out of this guy or this girl, or how much happiness I will get from the car or from education, how much money I will make if I get this degree. Always how much I will get. We don't like to say that to our family, but even in the depth of our heart, we are so selfish, we can hardly think of our wife or our children or our parents. That is why we have friction. If we were thinking of others, we would really have no problem at all in the family. If everybody thought about everybody else first and their needs, their requirement, their nature, I think we would have much less problem, or almost we will be able to eliminate, and that is yajna. To think of others, to before they ask their help, we can think and provide them what they need. then they will in turn also provide us. This is not a trade, but this is a love. If you do something lovingly to serve others, others will serve you lovingly too. So just make that love as the goal. That I want to do it only out of love. I don't want anything from you because God is going to give me what I want. It is love that we want, and love is abundant. Everybody has. Everybody doesn't have $1 million or things to give you, but everybody does have love. And it is love ultimately that we are all looking for, whether we know it or not. We say that we want happiness, we want joy, and yet the path we take is taking away from us, and it actually makes us slave, as we had given an example of the guy who was carrying sofa on his head and caused him fatigue. Had he not been carrying that baggage, he would not have been tired, and therefore he would not have needed sofa. Same thing that for comfort, if we buy cars and then we have to pay money and then there is no end of it, we just have to make a statement that I have to have BMW or I have to have Lexus or Mercedes. These are the statements we want to make. Even when we buy clothes, we have these logos on the clothes, and we pay so much for that statement. You can buy the same cloth probably half the price, so we are paying for uh, what they call copyrights or logos, and yet we don't know because each one is simply showing off his pride, how much money he has made. But Gita says all we are telling is that how much money we have stolen from the poor, because all the money that we have in the bank and anything that we have in excess is stolen by those 800 million people who are starving, don't have a house, food, or clothes, and those 200 million people have collected that from the poor. God is making enough food for everybody, just enough, not more, not less. If it is two pieces of bread for everybody, whoever is eating more than two pieces of bread, somebody else is going to be hungry because we have taken away his piece of bread. Same thing about big homes or clothes or anything that luxury that we are after, somebody has paid for it, and those are the poor people. And we will be answerable that God gave us the intellect, God gave us to serve them. Instead, we used our intellect to rob them. And the poverty is strictly not because God has created poverty, but our ignorance. So it is the ignorance that is causing. We are spreading ignorance. We are getting degrees in ignorance, PhDs in ignorance in Berkeley and Stanford. They are turning out ignorant hobos who don't think about this and continue to rob and continue to make statement that I am from Stanford, I am from Berkeley, I am from Harvard, I am from Oxford, I am an engineer, we are just branding ourselves physically. Nobody is saying that I am love, I am a creature of God, that we are all equal, that we have one home, and that very soon we will pass away and our conscience will bother us that what we have done with this beautiful life, this diamond that God gave us, God Himself sitting in us, the opportunity to enjoy this creation, we have made a mess. We have, out of simply our arrogance and ignorance and pride, just like Dhritarashtra and his son Duryodhan, we have continued that, and yet we call ourselves educated. Everybody will be answerable. As God has said, we are thugs, we are stealing from each other rather than serving. And this is what Yajna, or the title of this chapter, tells us. Let us turn this education, this wealth that God has given us, and redistribute, share with people, and see the joy of it. Of course, we haven't done this all this 10,000 years or ever since the world started, but we must give it a chance. If we recognize that we have problems today in this world, and we all know we have problems in the family, we have problems in all these institutions I've been talking about. Everywhere there is problem. We don't like to admit it. We are so hypocrite that we smile outwardly, but we know inside we wink our eyes at each other, and we say, okay, we are doing the things for each other, patting each other, but we know that we are hurting each other rather than helping each other by not being honest. So I think what we really need to do is ask a question. For 10,000 years, and all the religions, teachers, and the books and the temples we have built, and all the universities we have built, and all the institutions of trade, and social structures and political structures, where do we stand today? Where do we stand today? Where is uh, uh, look at the people, the 6 billion people. Look at the distribution of wealth and food and clothes and everything. Are we really heading towards the right direction, or rich are getting richer and poor are getting poorer, and both of them are suffering? Rich are suffering mentally, mental stress, which is worse than the physical stress, that we don't have food, only we have a body to suffer. But the mind to suffer, the mental agony, because of the robbery we have done, I think we will have been paying for many, many lives yet to come. Disease of the mind is much deeper. Distress, depression of people is so hard to get rid of it. If it is hunger, we can just give him food and in 2 days he will be all right. But if you are mentally stressed, we do not know how many years it will take, because it's a deeper disease, and that is because we have never thought of others. We have created stress only out of false values of comfort, education, civilization, advancement, and superiority that we think, which is arbitrarily stamped on us by these universities, by our culture, and by our own parents and others who are just as ignorant. So Lord here says in slok 16, the next slok, it is a beautiful thing that he summarizes what is happening. He says, Evam pravartitum chakram na anuvartayati iha yaha aghayuhu indriyaramaha mogham partha sajivati. Lord says that this chakra, this cycle, this whole cycle of creation, as we just said, from Akshar Brahman to Brahman the creator, then the actions, then from action turn into yajna, that is due to rain, that is grace. From rain we have food, from food we are, human beings are sustained, and so if we break this cycle, so Lord says this chakra, this cycle, Lord says, I have made this cycle. The cycle is to serve each other. Now, if you don't act accordingly, na anuvartayati iha yaha. In this world, those who don't follow my laws, the laws of morality, the laws of yajna, sacrifices, then aghayuhu indriyaramaha mogam partha sajivati. Then he says, those who don't follow this chakra or the wheel that I have created and which is revolving, then these guys are living in sin, they are living in vain, their life is vain itself. So Lord has told us already that our life is in vain. We are wasting a mogam. Mogam is the word, the, the exact word he has used is mogam, vain or vanity, and we know how much vanity we have nowadays. So our whole life is vanity. And God says, unless you follow and return to my laws, what I am talking about, there is no peace. There will not be peace because I have not built in peace in there. The love and peace is built in thinking of others, helping others, and in so doing, if you have to die, it is better that you die in serving others than you die in our lust for comforts and lust for flesh and body, because that death even animals are going through, we are also going through. It won't be too long before we'll pass away, and we will wonder what we did with our beautiful life, the purpose of which was sole responsibility for self-realization. So this slok is so beautiful. I really think that we must meditate on it. That we are all circling from morning to evening. 30 years of our life we work and we pass time as if someday we will retire and enjoy life, and that future never comes, and the present passes away, because in the present we are always thinking either of the past, what we may have done, what we should not have done, and future we dream that, oh, someday I will have the job and I will have money and I will have this and that, which has never come, and we don't know we will be living until tomorrow anyway. So we have no faith, we don't know what we are planning. The planner is God alone. So if we trust Him, if we have faith, if we submit to His laws and live moment by moment. Today is the day. Today I have an opportunity. Today let me think, is there something I can do to help somebody here? There are elderly people. Our own families are not happy. There is so much friction and anger even in our own family. Can I sit down and open up my heart and change my habits that is causing this pain in the family? Each one to think like that and demanding from each other what the other person should do for me. If we can say what can I do for the other person, if wife can say what can I do for husband, if husband can say what can I do for my wife, parents can say what can we do for our children, and if children can say what can we do for our parents so that we can all be happy. No, we have to think it other way. How much can I get out of my parents, how much I can get out of my children, how much can I get out of my old folks when they die. Sometimes we wish that we can get their money. So we are always thinking of how much can I get out of others instead of how much I can give to others. A totally reverse cycle which we have talked about in the second adhyay, that the wise people and the worldly people are in a totally opposite direction, that is a positive and negative current. So uh, I personally think that in a simplest way, when the saints are advising us, and if you say, well, what do I do? I'm all confused. All right, sit down quietly, and whatever your mind is telling you, just do opposite. Your mind is so full of filth and ignorance, vanity and arrogance, that whatever you are thinking, we need to do opposite of that. If you need to buy a car, you need to go to Stanford, you want to do this, just don't do it. Go opposite. Go to the poor, go to these countries where they need help, and just become a farmer and just produce. Farming is one of the best profession according to Mahatma Gandhi. Saints are telling that the best profession is farming, or it may be carpentry, where we physically produce something. All those who are sitting on the desk, no matter whether engineers or doctors or political leaders, that is, if they need to, fine, but they still must do physical work. Gardening, producing something so that the body will be healthy. We don't do that. We sit on the table, we watch TV, we get sick, and then we say, well, now let's do some exercise, let's go for a walk. Instead, if we were working in the house and doing our duties properly, we wouldn't need even those extracurriculum activities which we don't need. So, we need to re examine all these things for our own good. And since we have tried out what we have been doing and we are continuing to do it, and our friction and anxiety and uncertainty is increasing, I think today, after this 9/11 incident about a year ago, there is more fear in the hearts of people. And I'm talking about the whole world. I was in India, in Jaipur, people were fearful there. And I said, how come we are worried here? Well, he says now United States is attacked. Now they won't come and visit India, so they will not be spending their money here. So our business is going down. Things are not so good. So these global problems, it is not just belonging to America only. We are one way or the other affecting all the people in the world. We lose our charm, we lose our joy, we lose our business, and we cannot just, as Buddha Bhagavan said, we cannot overcome anger through another anger. We can overcome anger by love. And love means simply yajna. Think of others, why there are problems, why people are unhappy, why people are doing what they are doing, why they are upset and trying to hurt the innocent people, because then they don't have intelligence, they are angry, they don't have education, nobody has taught them religious institutions, not to talk about universities. We are just going like machines, like animals, goats and sheep. One leader tells us, and when he falls in the hole, all of us fall in the hole. But nobody is thinking, stopping to think that, wait a minute, let me sit down and think. What are the saints talking? What did Jesus teach us? What is Mirabai telling us? What is Buddha telling us? What is Saint Bernard telling us about love? Saint Bernard has talked a beautiful thing about song in the Bible, in the original part of Bible they call ancient part. It is such a beautiful expression of love and yajna that he himself sacrificed his life and he could understand love. It's amazing how the same message Mirabai is giving us what Saint Bernard gave and other saints too, of which we may have an opportunity to talk about it in future. But whenever a person or a saint has talked about love, the first thing he has done is sacrifice his life for the good of the other. He tried to understand the nature of God, nature of people, nature of the universe, and then they found out that the way to get love is to sacrifice our physical life in order to have eternal life. So if we need to trade, we should trade our body for eternal body, and that is what yajna is meant for. Yajna is the means. Yajna, just like car is a means for transportation, yajna or selfless service is a means where there is no ego. That is the main thing. No matter how much outwardly we do, if we are sustaining our ego or nurturing our ego and pampering our ego like these dharma gurus or politicians or the university CEOs, nurturing our ego, then you have not done yajna at all. No matter how much you are helping others, you think you are helping, but you have nurtured your ego. So it is the ego that we need to remove. That is religion is all about. And when we say yajna, sacrificing ourselves is sacrificing our ego, ahankar as we say. In order to reduce ahankar, the way to do that is to serve others selflessly, and that is the key message of these five sloks that we have been talking about from slok number 11 to 16. And if you really want to go back, slok number 9, where we were told that all actions that are not turned into yajna or selfless, they are cause of bondage. That is what it says, that everything we do, yajna arthat karmananyatra lokayam karma bandhanaha. They bind us, they imprison us, so the actions, by doing actions, unless we convert them into yajna, we will be under bondage. We will be our own prisoner. And we don't want to be a prisoner, we want to be a free soul. So these sloks are trying to give us back our freedom, and freedom is joy. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.